So we're going to be making a pork sausage and orzo recipe. It's a very quick recipe. It cooks for 10 minutes and then it rests for about 5. So we're looking at, with browning the sausage, we're going to be looking at about 20 minutes raw to table. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pork sausage and I'm going to put it in the pan and get that browning. That's the first step we're going to do. And because I am using pork that we ordered from the butcher, I am going to add some Italian seasoning to it. But if you buy the links, you can just cut the casing off and throw it in, or you can buy the bulk sausage that doesn't have, that's just in like the bag like this, and use that as well. So I'm gonna grab my Italian seasoning real quick and throw that in, and then we'll get on to the other ingredients. So because this takes 16 ounces of pork, I'm just gonna do like half a cup, or I'm sorry, not half a cup, half a capful right on there. Okay, so we're gonna do that and get that browning. So this is really, orzo is a very thin pasta, so it actually cooks fairly quickly. I think I threw it out. I sure did. That one wanted to escape. While this is browning, you want to take half of an onion and we're going to finely chop it. Now I'm going to show you how I do this. I'm going to shift my camera here in a second. Alright, so we have half of our onion here. This one I had already cut, so the end is just a little dried. So I'm just going to thinly slice it off. To dice it, we're going to cut it in half, leave the root on, and peel it. Then I'm going to come through and do some rows just to the root. You'll want to cut all the way through. Now we're going to run the tip of our knife down through, and then you want to hold the sides, and we're just going to chop it like this. And you see you get these little bite-sized diced tomatoes, and this helps it be uniform in shape, and it cooks more evenly. So we're going to add that to the pan with the pork sausage. And then I'm going to turn this so... Alright, so our pork is starting to cook. And I'm using this gadget to break up the sausage. I'm going to show ya. And it's browning that, that onion too. So while it's doing that, I'm going to add the garlic powder. Now you can add red pepper flakes to this if you like. Whoops. I've got a 7 and a 6-year-old, so I'm going to omit the red pepper flakes, and I'm going to add half a teaspoon of the garlic powder. So let's do this. And that is this Epicure roasted garlic seasoning that I'm using. You can use minced garlic in place of it, just whatever the equivalent 3 to 4 cloves is what the recipe calls for. So I'm just going to make sure this is all kind of bite-sized. And you want to make sure your pork is cooked thoroughly before you move on to the next step. Pork is one of those meats you want to make sure it's fully cooked, because that's very important, and this is actually smelling very good. So before we move on to the next step, I'm going to double check my recipe. I'm pretty sure I know it, but I don't want to guess and make it wrong. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm going to slightly turn the heat down because we're going to add our cup of orzo to the pan. We're also going to add 2 cups of chicken broth. 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. I'm going to give that a stir. Alright, I'm going to put this in the sink and I'm going to switch to a wooden spoon. So now we're going to let this cook 10 minutes, and that's to cook that orzo. Once that orzo is cooked, we're going to finish adding in, we have spinach to add in, and fresh Parmesan cheese, which I bought this pre-shredded. So we're going to use that. That takes a half a cup of the cheese, and then some salt and pepper to taste. So we'll probably just sprinkle it in and then taste it and see if it needs any more before I add too much. Because you don't want to over salt. And the cheese is slightly salty, and so is the sausage. So you want to be very careful with the salt in this dish, or it'll be overpowering. Salt is one of those seasonings that a little can go a long way. So in about 10 minutes, we'll come back and we'll finish this up. Okay, we are back. Our 10 minutes is up. So we're going to turn the heat off. We're going to add I always make a mess, half a cup of the cheese. And I'm going to sprinkle a little in since I just dumped part of it. There we go. Cheese doesn't have to be exact in my opinion, but the recipe calls for half a cup. And then the recipe also calls for 2 cups of spinach. So spinach I normally I usually measure by the handful. So we're going to do a cup and a cup. And then we're going to we're going to stir this around a little bit because you want to incorporate that. The spinach will begin to wilt. I could not get baby spinach, so some of these leaves are huge. If you can't get baby spinach, the other thing you can do is chop the spinach, but it'll begin to wilt. You'll see your cheeses starting to get gooey, and actually I'll flip this around so you can see because it's looking really good. So you see, got the strings of cheese that's in there. The orzo is all cooked. And our, not lettuce, I almost said lettuce, our spinach is beginning to wilt. So now that this is all kind of mixed up, I'm going to just let this rest for the 5 minutes, and we're going to sprinkle on some coarse cracked pepper. I did not measure that, I just sprinkled. And then I have some of this Himalayan salt. I'm just going to sprinkle just a hair. Like I said, we want to be careful with the salt because of the beef or the chicken stock is salty, the pork can be salty, and the cheese. So I'm just going to quickly just incorporate that since I added those in. You can see it's already, the spinach is looking fabulous. So that's all there is to it. Let it rest and then we can serve it. And then what we'll do right before we serve it, we'll taste test it, add any, a little bit of salt and a little bit of, I don't think we'll need pepper at all, but add a little bit of salt if we need to, but that's all there is to it. That is the recipe. And dinner from raw to table in about 20-25 minutes, depending. I hope you enjoyed as much as we do.